Welcome back, everyone, to the Raging Waters Safe Harbors podcast. My name is Kevin Peridot, and I'm the host in this space. So it's good that you're joining us today. So we wrapped up last week with Mark, the Gospel of Mark, and today was slated to be the next church in the book of Revelation and kind of get back to that. But we're going to have a special episode today. And the title, I got a title for this. Not Grace. Let's start over. Jesus and the Magnetic Middle. Subtitle, Grace, Truth, and the Future of Faith in a Divided World. All right. So, there's some things that happened this week, and there are some things that, because of that thing that happened, some other things started happening I saw on social media, and I started thinking about what's going to happen next, and where do we go, and I started thinking about lots and lots of things, and I want to share that with you today. I just want to have a real honest conversation with you all today. And as always, this is could be a little bit. I'm going to make some political statements, but the political statements, as always, are within the context of the larger thing that the empire is active, it's moving, empire is going to empire, and the people of God, those that belong to the kingdom of God, are aware of it, but they don't get caught up in it. They don't go with the flow. And today I want to illustrate one of those pieces. All right. So Jesus and the magnetic middle. I'll explain that in a second. Let me say a few things to get us there. Do you ever feel like, have you noticed, you'd have to be hiding under the rock to not know this, that it feels like there's things that are pushing us apart right now? Family, friends, acquaintances, people you work with. You see them post something, support something, say something, and you're like, oh, they're one of those. And there's like this force that it pushes against you, and you are pushing back, and those two forces are, let's use the word, repel each other. All right? So this week, this is what happened. If you didn't catch it, it was Sunday into Monday or Monday into Tuesday. It was Sunday into Monday, I think. Anyway, our president got into a spat with the Pope. And then somewhere in the middle of the night, early morning hours, I'm not sure what time it was exactly, but he posted a picture of him as Jesus. It's clearly Jesus. He posted it later. He claimed that he posted it. It wasn't one of his staffers. He posted it. And later he said that he thought it was a doctor, and he was about healing people and making people's lives better. And it's clearly Jesus. Even some of the, there's just a lot of people that was like, that's Jesus, and you posted it, and you're not aware of it, and this crosses a line. And it was very interesting because, again, we have seen things I've talked about before, during the whole, when Gaza had the headlines, he posted a video, and another AI video. This was an AI thing that somebody else had done and he just reposted. But he posted an AI video of him, a year or so ago, of a big golden statue in Gaza and little golden idol statue. Like, this is not new. This is not surprising. What is surprising is that for the first time, some of the hardcore followers, I don't know what else to call them, Christian people who follow and have allegiance to, because it's been allegiance, have started to say, this has crossed the line. This is blasphemy. He is not Jesus, and you cannot post yourself as Jesus. Like, this is crossing a line. And what's interesting to me, side note here, is that it's taken this for us to get here, but we'll take what we get. And this got me thinking. So that's all just kind of line of thought here to get us to where we are today. It got me thinking, like, where do we go from here? What's going to happen? Lots of people who claim Jesus do not support this version of the empire. All right? And there's a lot that do. And some of them that have supported, enabled, condoned, cheered on, have pledged allegiance to, I saw them waver this week. Some really hardcore people, some people that I had made comments before about their allegiance and how they saw it. Like I saw them shift and change. And I got to thinking, like, where does this go? The divide that has been, the push, the repelling of these two divides within Christianity over either support or on the, let's say, allegiance on the far one side and hatred on the other side. Like, it's let's call it for what it is. Like, it's crazy. The real damage, and so where do we go? And then I thought about the carnage that has been already happened, like what has already been done. And what's been done is that we are sitting at, we're about a decade, we're about 10 years in to when things really started breaking loose and getting kind of really the division amped up a bit about 10 years ago. And what's been damaged has been how folks that are, well, there's multiple damage here, but a lot of damage to the folks that are outside of the realm of Christianity, because they have now associated, and I have seen so many things like this, like associated Christianity is equal to supporting this current administration. Like, this version of politics has been, so much has been thrown on it that kind of makes it look Jesus and smell Jesus like, because they say things about God and Jesus. And there's a lot of people on the outside that see the two as the same thing. And therefore, there are people that are repelled from Jesus and God because they're going, if Jesus and God has to do with this, then I don't want to have anything to do with this. And that damage has already been done. And again, I've said it before, I will say it again, that we're going to be unpacking this damage for years as people who follow Jesus and as the church. There will be, we'll see the effects of the fallout. That's just, we're going to see it. We already are, but we're going to see more and more of it. And it's something we're going to have to deal with. So how do we deal with it? How do we move forward? How do we be and represent Jesus in this world as he should be represented? That is the question, right? How do we do this? And so this got me thinking, and you can kind of see it over my shoulder here. There's no way you're going to make this out. But I drew a line yesterday, day before, and I thought about the left and the right and these forces pushing against each other. And I thought about why is this happening? What if they came together? Like, how would they come together? And I started thinking about magnets. All right. And so magnets work like this. If you've got a positive and a positive facing each other, or a negative and negative facing each other, they're going to repel each other. They're going to, like, the more you push them together, the more they're going to push apart. Everybody's hopefully played with magnets, so you know kind of what I'm talking about here. You flip one of them around, and you have now a positive and a negative. They're going to be brought together. Okay? So this is not pie in the sky. This is not thinking about this. I want to talk about the two things that should be held together, the two poles that are held together and aligned in the person of Jesus and should be aligned and held together within us. And you can see it right here highlighted. We're one verse today, John chapter 1, verse 14. The Word, Jesus, became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Full of grace and truth. Those are the two magnets. They are the positive and the negative. No more value given by positive and negative. Just they're two things that they actually are pulling together. Because when magnets actually pull together, the reason they pull together is because everything is it's wants alignment, so they are coming together. Okay? So what are these two poles? Let's talk about grace. The grace of God is compassion, empathy, patience, undeserved favor. God has a way of having this faithful, loyal love where he keeps on loving, reaching out, doing the things that only he can do for people. That's what God does. And when we practice grace, we practice compassion, empathy, patience toward other people. We give them space. We understand they're in process. All of those things. And when it gets distorted, okay, when we focus on it alone, it starts to avoid hard conversation. It sees people that are hurting, and it leaves them in that place. And it confuses. It says, like, I love you, therefore you do whatever you want to do, whatever makes you feel good. There's no rule. It can go that kind of, it is unconditional love that has zero boundaries. All right, let me see if I'll unpack that. Let's talk about truth. Truth is real. It's solid. You can stand on it. It never changes. It's conviction. It's clarity. It's moral grounding. And in Jesus' case, like, this is the Son of God come to, like, it's real. It's solid. And when we hold on to truth, we have a way of saying this is a line. This is right. This is wrong. And there are right and wrongs in this world. All right. There's things that works and things that do not work. There's things that help people, and there's things that hurt people. Okay? Right? Like, yeah. So, but when truth becomes distorted is when it becomes harsh, and it prioritizes being right over being relational. Okay? And The problem is when we don't hold on to both. Jesus was able to hold on to both, full of grace and truth. We get in trouble when we pick a side, okay? When we pick a side. So what has happened? And this is now I'm shifting. This is the descriptor of a lot of churches and people within those churches. Some spaces emphasize truth so strongly they lose any sense of tenderness. There is this stance that I am right, and there's no way that I'm wrong. And not only am I right, but you are in the wrong. And until you get in the right, I'm not going to associate with you. And then there's the other side that, and I know I see people like I'm going to make everybody mad today, and that's good. There's others that overemphasize grace, and they do it so strongly, they lose any sense of clarity. It is, it's like this. Oh, you're banging your head against that wall. Okay, well, if you want to do that, that's your choice. Then keep on doing that. And I love you, and I'm glad that you. I hope you know that I love you, and it's all okay. Like there's no clarity because it's all just. I'm meeting you where you're at. I'm giving you all the grace I can, grace and grace alone, and I'm not helping you see that this is hurting you. This is not good for you. You catching what I'm saying here? Like you can see that you need both, not either or. And it's easy. It's much easier to choose one and just live that out into its extreme versus feeling and living in the tension of the magnetic middle. All right. I have fallen, we were, I was talking to Sarah, my wife, the other day, and I've fallen into a lot over the last decade, a lot of anger and probably hatred would be really the best word. There are the amount of hurt that I experienced within the church came from the people on the far right of the political spectrum. And these people tended towards being truth people. Like, this is the way it is, and if you don't believe it, you're dumb. And Kevin, since you don't believe the way I do, you're dumb. And not only are you dumb, but I think your church is dumb, and I'm no longer going to be a part of this church. And I'm going to tell everybody else that's in my friend group that, and it was one thing, and there was a lot of hurt that came from that season. And I see that. Having a conversation a few weeks ago with a dear friend, I saw some of this. I'm starting to be able to work through it, understand where it came from, and doing the repentance and asking for forgiveness and working through it. That's the best way I could say it. And I went down this path. I chose to dig my heels in and be like, if they are going to be that, then I'm going to be this, because I don't want to have anything to do with that. So I'm going to be all about this thing over here and being the opposite of that, because that is a whole lot of anger, being right, black and white type of thinking. And do you hear how easily I fall right into the trap of becoming the same way? Like it's what happens here. And when you only live at one pole, everyone on the other side feels like a threat. And my hurt, my pain comes from responding to others perceiving me as a threat, and then they kind of manage to do all they could to inflict harm. All right. And my hurt arises from that. And therefore, I'm still processing. I'm still processing. But I hope you can hear that, and you probably have your own stories to tell. You can tell stories about family members and friends and colleagues at work that either you have, you're on one side and they're on the other and you're repelling, or because someone's on a side and they're pushing so hard against, you have become a threat to them and they have lashed out to you, or you've lashed out to them and broken relationship. However this ends, it doesn't end in a good way here, my friends. And from a worldly standpoint, who cares? If you take Jesus and the kingdom of God out of this, who cares? This is people just fight, they do this thing. But that is not the way that we as people that follow Jesus are to live. If Jesus came and he was full of grace and truth, then we should be the same way. But I'm telling you, this is hard. This is to live in the magnetic middle is work, and it is living in a constant tension. It's a good tension, but it's between grace and truth. You got to have them both. So in any situation, you've got to be able to say, I see this is right and wrong. And there's forgiveness, and there's hope, and there's grace for this. We could move forward from this. That is ridiculously hard to do both and. All right? But that is what Jesus did. I am beyond grateful that we have this text in Scripture, because it always calls me to account. It always calls the church, God's people, to account. To be the people that do the both and work of both truth and grace and truth. See, Jesus never watered down the truth, and Jesus never withheld grace. So the woman, John chapter 8, same book, the woman caught in adultery, and they wanted to stone her. And Jesus came up and said, he who is without sin can cast the first stone. And none of them threw a first stone, because they all had sin. And Jesus looked at the woman and said, neither do I condemn you. And, that's grace. And he said, go and sin no more. Truth. Neither do I condemn you. Grace. Go and sin no more. Truth. He didn't choose between the two sides. He didn't choose, I'm just going to hit this woman with a ton of truth and shame her. I'm also not going to just hit her with just all grace and say, you're fine. No big deal. It's both and. And when we stop carrying around both grace and truth, we miss something. We miss something. All right? Transformation doesn't happen when you remove the tension between grace and truth. It happens when you are living in the magnetic middle of both grace and truth. All right? It is grace and truth that transform us. Truth only malforms us. Grace only it makes us into something we shouldn't be. But grace and truth has the power to transform us. All right? So, as we step back, as we look at this, as we think through just kind of where we are and where we want to be, and how we move forward, I think the first reckoning happens within. It happens when we face the reality that if we follow Jesus, we are people that are holding in full tension grace and truth. Okay? Grace and truth. And that reckoning is going to cost you something. Because it hurts to do both. You know, these people that I talked about hurting me, and maybe I used the word betrayed. I feel the word betrayed. It was written in the script. I don't know if I said it out loud. But there is grace and truth that I can offer them. They hurt me during a season, which was many years ago now, P.S. Time has a way of helping us see this. They hurt me, yes, and I can forgive them. You see what I'm saying here? And I don't forgive easy. You mess with me, you betray my trust, I can write you off really easy. But grace and truth brings me back to, yes, that happened, and I can offer forgiveness. That's the way it works. And when we, again, slide to one side at the expense of the other, we miss out on who Jesus is. We don't become disciples of Jesus. We become disciples of something less. All right? So, some questions for you to think about. And then I got one more story I want to tell you at the very end. Where do you tend to lean? Who in your life do you currently repel? And what would it look like in you to bring the other pole into your life? What would it look like to bring the other pole into your relationships with other people? If you were people of grace and truth, and I was a person of grace and truth, how would it change how I interact with other people? All right? So in conversations, lead with grace, but don't abandon the truth. And in conviction, hold truth, but don't abandon grace. Like, you got to hold on to them both. It is a both and, not an either or. And you're like, Kevin, you can't be actually suggesting that the way forward for the church and for those that follow Jesus is to become part of a magnetic middle, that we understand that we need to be both people, grace and truth. And so people from the far left and people from the far right are going to gather in the middle and sing Kumbaya. That's, again, I do think, for what it's worth, I do think that we will see, and there should be something that defines these middle people that see the both and of the world. And I think that's the hope for the church to reclaim who the church is going to be. And I think the same mentality, same thought process also creates some sanity in politics in the days ahead. It should. But those are all outcomes. Those are all things that can be byproducts of what I'm saying at the very core, which is I'm inviting me to become people of grace and truth. All right? People that embrace the both and of Jesus. And until we have the magnetic middle of Jesus residing in us, it's not going to have any. We can't do something that we are not. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't go out and yay, magnetic middle. Not that people are going to be saying that, although if they did, that would be super cool, right? But we're not going to go out and campaign for the magnetic middle. We become the magnetic middle by letting it take hold in us, allowing Jesus's fullness of grace and truth to abide within us. All right? It's both and, not either or. So one more story, and then I'll wrap this up. And I was sitting in a coaching meeting one time. It was an early, I think Tuesday mornings is when we met with this particular group. And I think we met from like 6 to 8 in the morning. And I was with this group one day, and one of my favorite people, I could say his name, Sean. Sean, always wise beyond his years. We were having a discussion. I don't even remember what the discussion was about now. But he said something that is like one of those quotes that there's probably only 5 or 10 of them that I remember where I was when somebody said something. And he said, we've been learning that as we're talking in our family, that we don't say, I love you, but, and then finish the sentence, I love you, but you disobeyed, or, and you were, you did something wrong that you shouldn't have done. But it is I love you, and the second statement. You see, when you throw the word but in, we say it creates something that's like a cause and effect. I love you, but you're not doing this. And it's like you need to correct this so that you can correct this, so my love can be just, this weird justification thing going on. But when you use the word and, I love you, and do you see that what you're naturally doing in those moments is you're creating a grace and truth moment, right? Like, I love you, and when you do this, it's not helpful to you or to our family or to your reputation, whatever it is. And so his invitation that morning to us was to take the buts out of our life and put in ands. And I think we've gotten really good at doing the buts. You're my friend, but you support that guy. You're my friend, but you're a Democrat. Well, whatever you want to fill in the blank here with the things that we say to people nowadays. You're my friend, and you've supported this. That invites some conversation. That invites some understanding. And you see, when people start having those types of conversations, let me say that differently. The conversations happen because something has shifted internally. We need to be people that allow Jesus to do his work of grace and truth within us. And the only way that the church or the people of God are going to restore their reputation in the world after it has been greatly damaged over the last decade is going to be a version of people that are full of grace and truth. Think about it. Think about the people that when it all comes down to it, that you respect the most and you gravitate towards. They're people that are full of grace and truth. And you might not know why you like want to be with those people, or you respect those people, or you think they have something worth saying, but it's because they're both and. Either or, grace only or truth only, sells a lot of podcasts and clicks on Instagram and views on TikTok, because polarization, being on a pole and hanging out there, is what makes money. It sells stories. It wins political campaigns. It sells news, which news shouldn't be sold to begin with. That's a crazy, you know what I'm saying here, right? But we got to do that work, my friends. We got to do that grace and truth. Not grace, but here is the truth. Or here's the truth, but there's grace that covers, like they're not opposing, they're not pushing against, but they're working together in our lives. My friends, this is raw. I'm still processing. I have 10 other ideas as I'm hearing myself talk about this. This is all relatively new, last couple of days type of thoughts, but I wanted to share it with you. I wanted to get it out there. I think, to be honest with you, I think this is a way forward that I can get behind. And it's been a while since I can say there's a way forward, because it feels like we've been trapped in muck and mire and repelling one another with everything that we say. And this week, you can start working on allowing the magnetic middle of Jesus to abide within us as we abide with Jesus, who's full of grace and truth, and we can become more full of grace and truth. And if churches and gatherings of faith communities can become more about both and, then we start representing the kingdom of God in this world in a profoundly different way than is being seen and experienced right now. And that's my hope. That's my hope, my friends. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And I love you all. Keep forging forward, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great week.